Digora Bhaktivinoda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. A reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, as it is, chapter 16, the divine and demoniac natures, text 1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Abhayam Sattvasam Shuddhir Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Dhanam Damascha Yagyascha Svadhyayas Tapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodas Tyaga Shantir Apaishanam Daya Bhuteshvalo Luptvam Mardavam Harir Achapalam Teja Kshama Driti Shocham Adroho Natimanita Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim Abhijatasya Bharata. The Blessed Lord said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity and simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion and freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, and steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, freedom from envy, and the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. Dambo darpo bhimanascha krodha parushyam evacha agyanam cha bijatasya partha sampadam asarim. Arrogance, pride, anger, conceit, harshness, and ignorance. These qualities belong to those of demonic nature, O son of Pritha. Daivi sampad vimokshaya nibandaya sarimata Ma shocha sampadam daivim abhijato si pandava. The transcendental qualities are conducive to liberation, whereas the demonic qualities make for bondage. Do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with the divine qualities. Dvo bhuta sargo loke smin daiva asura evacha daivo vistarasha prokta Asaram partha me shrinu. O son of Pritha, in this world there are two kinds of created beings. One is called the divine, and the other demonic. I have already explained to you at length the divine qualities. Now hear from me of the demoniac. Pravittim cha navrittim cha jana na vidhur asaraha na shocham napi cha charo Na satyam teshu vidyate. Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. Asatyam apratishtam te jagad ahur anishvaram aparaspara sambhutam kim anyat kamahaitukam. They say that this world is unreal, that there is no foundation, and that there is no God in control. It is produced of sex desire, and has no cause other than lust. Etam drishtim avastabhya nashtatmano pabudaya pravantyugra karmana shaya jagato hitaha. Following such conclusions, the demoniac, who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence, engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Kamam ashritya duspuram dambamana madanvitaha mohad grihitva sadgrahan pravartante shuchivrataha. The demoniac, taking shelter of insatiable lust, pride, and foolishness. Wait, is that there? Oh, sorry. Insatiable lust, pride, and false prestige, and being thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. Sorry, it was lust, pride, and false prestige, not foolishness. In the purport to text 9, Srila Prabhupada mentions how this verse is predicting the advent or the invention of nuclear weapons, of which the whole world today is very proud, and that those things aren't made for any peace or prosperity in the world. It's really interesting purport. So back to the text 1. The Blessed Lord said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity and simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion, and freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, and steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, freedom from envy and the passion for honor, these transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. I'll read through the purport now. Maharaj, if you'd like to make any comments throughout the purport, please do so. It's a long one, so we're eager to hear from you, Maharaj. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. In the beginning of the 15th chapter, the banyan tree of this material world was explained. The extra roots coming out of it were compared to the activities of the living entities, some auspicious, some inauspicious. In the 9th chapter also, the devas or godly and the asuras, the ungodly or demons, were explained. Now according to Vedic rites, activities in the mode of goodness are considered auspicious for progress on the path of liberation, and such activities are known as Deva Prakriti, transcendental by nature. Those who are situated in the transcendental nature make progress on the path of liberation. For those who are acting in the modes of passion and ignorance, on the other hand, there is no possibility of liberation. Either they will have to remain in this material world as human beings, or they will descend among the species of animals or even lower life forms. In this 16th chapter, the Lord explains both the transcendental nature and its attendant qualities, as well as the demoniac nature and its qualities. He also explains the advantages and disadvantages of these qualities. The word abhijatasya, in reference to one born of transcendental qualities or godly tendencies, is very significant. To beget a child in a godly atmosphere is known in the Vedic scriptures as garbhadan samskara. If the parents want a child in the godly qualities, they should follow the 10 principles of the human being. In Bhagavad Gita, we have studied also before that sex life for begetting a good child is Krishna himself. Sex life is not condemned provided the process is used in Krishna consciousness. Those who are in Krishna consciousness at least should not beget children like cats and dogs, but should beget them so they may become Krishna conscious after birth. That should be the advantage of children born of a father or mother absorbed in Krishna consciousness. There's the verse that explains the duty of a father. It explains that one should not become a father, a mother, a teacher, a guru, anything where you have some sort of dependence under you, unless you can deliver those dependents from the cycle of birth and death. So that's what a real, any of those people is that they, and a real teacher, they can deliver somebody from those who are learning from them from the cycle of birth and death. So that's why this garbhadan samskara is mentioned as so important for families in Krishna consciousness, or parents, meaning that they don't have children like Srila Prabhupada stated as like cats and dogs, but they purify their consciousness to invite a soul of a similar pure consciousness into the semen of the father and then the womb of the mother, so that a child who's inclined towards devotional service can be born and then raised to become Krishna conscious. Because the mindset of the parents at the time of conception, that's bringing in some soul of a similar mindset. So in today's day and age, when everything, there's no standards of human civilization, Prabhupada sometimes called it the two-legged animal civilization. Then what happens is what Arjuna spoke of in the beginning, that there's, what are they called? Varna Sankara, which means progeny, or the future generation of the world that's being brought in are of totally crazy mentality. Because at the time of conception, the people bringing them into their new body were of totally crazy mentality, just lust and anger or intoxication and all these things. So that's what's shown in movies now. Whenever there's some great hero, the way he finds some nice woman to have a child with, there's always some drinking or something like this. So that's the popular idea. All these crazy lust, intoxication, meat eating, and then that's the kind of child that gets born. So there can't be any peace or happiness in the world when it's just full of people with a demoniac mentality. Those who are there at the present moment, and then the ones that are getting born. So the solution for that is that families in Krishna consciousness, they follow these principles, that they have sex life only for the purpose of creating a child that they can free from the cycle of birth and death by raising that child to be God conscious. So that means when they want to have a child, they just have sex life once in the month to try for that, after the Garbhadan Samskara, which is 50 rounds of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And then there might be some other details that go along with it also. And permission from Guru and blessings from the sadhus. It's not just something out of lust, there's just some craziness out of intoxication or something. So this way, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that is him. And those Krishna conscious parents can raise a Krishna conscious child who can actually help the world, instead of what we saw later on, which is the demoniac mentality, where people of a demoniac mentality just make things to destroy the world because they're acting just for their own enjoyment of their own senses. They're acting out of lust. But if someone can bring a Krishna, like Bhakti, was it Bhaktivinoda Thakur that says the quote that I'm about to say that everyone knows? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that if he could create a Krishna conscious child, then he was prepared, and he's a Naishtika brahmachari, meaning he never had any type of form of sex life his whole life. But he said if I could create a Krishna conscious child, that he was prepared to have sex life 100 times, make 100 children. So those kind of children are a great benefit to the world instead of a great disturbance. The social institution known as Varnashram Dharma, the institution dividing society into 4 divisions or castes, is not meant to divide human society according to birth. Such divisions are in terms of educational qualifications. They are to keep the society in a state of peace and prosperity. The qualities mentioned herein are explained as transcendental qualities meant for making a person progress in spiritual understanding so he can get liberation from the material world. In the Varnashram institution, that's actually nice right there. The qualities mentioned herein are explained as transcendental qualities meant for making a person progress in spiritual understanding so he can get liberation from the material world. So that's also the purpose of the Varnashram institution, or this way of ordering society. In the Varnashram institution, the sannyasi, or the person in the renounced order of life, is considered to be the head, or the spiritual master of all the social statuses and orders. A brahmana is considered to be the spiritual master of the 3 other sections of society, namely the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. And so for that reason, the brahmana is considered to be the head of the society. So that's perfect, because the brahmanas are focused, Brahmana, they know it is Brahman. They know it's the Supreme. They know God. So the people who are knowing God and dedicating their whole life to Him and having these godly qualities, they don't accumulate massive wealth because they don't need it. They give things away in charity. They don't even accept money for advising because then they wouldn't be able to speak the truth, which is one of their qualities. They're truthful. They want to speak the absolute truth. So these persons who are knowing God, they're at the head of society, and then everyone can have proper direction. And so in a civilized society, everyone worships and respects the Brahmanas in a Vedic society. And in that way, everybody becomes spiritually advanced in whatever position of life they are. They're gradually making advancement towards also having those godly qualities. And since the people of society are glorifying and respecting the people who are glorifying and respecting God, they naturally get uplifted. But we can see what a difference it would make today if the footsteps plastered in the ground by the Chinese theater, the Chinese Hollywood theater in California, if those were of the great devotees of the Lord. But instead they're of meat eaters, gamblers, drunkards, actors who kill themselves, crazy people. And so there's no hope for peace in society. But one of the most valuable substances in the world is the dust of the lotus feet of the devotee of the Lord. So if those were great saints and acharyas there, society can make a lot of advancement. But instead, society is, like we see this, sometimes we distribute books in the mall, and they sell t-shirts for everyone to buy in the middle, in between the stores and the hallway. And all the shirts that people go to buy are glorifying criminals. You've got this like one big-time drug dealer from Mexico on one shirt, and then another person who's a big-time drug dealer, and then some rapper who takes all the drugs. And so I mentioned this to Maharaj, that they glorify these criminals on all the shirts, and he said it's worship in the mode of passion. You worship the demons. And then he mentioned how worship in the mode of ignorance, you worship the ghosts and those lower type of spirits. And I was amazed when he said that, because I made the connection. I understood on the shirts with all of the criminals that, yeah, that's bad, they're worshiping demons. But I didn't know where these other shirts fit in. So half of it's criminals, and the other half is all these, Friday the 13th, and some like monsters and ghouls and things with knives and what. And then it made perfect sense. So that's all that's being sold in the store. You can worship the demons, or you can worship the ghosts. Just passion and ignorance. You choose which one. But in a sane society, they worship the Brahmanas. They worship the people who know God, and in that way they can also become God-realized. They can advance to the perfection of life, being a servant of God. Where is it? A Brahmana is considered to be the spiritual master of the three other sections of a society, namely the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. But a sannyasi, who is on the top of the institution, is considered to be the spiritual master of the Brahmanas also. For a sannyasi, the first qualification should be fearlessness. Because a sannyasi has to be alone without any support or guarantee of support, he has simply to depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If he thinks, after leaving my connections, who will protect me? He should not accept the renounced order of life. One must be fully convinced that Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his localized aspect as Paramatma, is always within, that he is seeing everything, and he always knows what one intends to do. One must thus have firm conviction that Krishna, as Paramatma, will take care of a soul surrendered to him. I shall never be alone, one should think. Even if I live in the darkest regions of a forest, I shall be accompanied by Krishna, and he will give me all protection. That conviction is called abhayam, without fear. This state of mind is necessary for a person in the renounced order of life. Then he has to purify his existence. I just want to mention that example of the Chinese theater footsteps, if those were devotees, that's in the Garga Samhita, in one of the first canto books. There are so many rules and regulations to be followed in the renounced order of life. Most important of all, a sannyasi is strictly forbidden to have any intimate relationship with a woman. He is even forbidden to talk with a woman in a secluded place. Lord Chaitanya was an ideal sannyasi, and he was at Puri. Lord Chaitanya was an ideal sannyasi, and when he was at Puri, his feminine devotees could not even come near to offer their respects. They were advised to bow down from a distant place. We can see that in the Sankirtan picture. Back here, he's doing the Sankirtan with all of his devotees and chanting. And there's other devotees who are joining also, but you see he's not near the women. There's some younger women they're inside in the house. They're in the background. And then I think there's also Mataji with a flower garland on the front right to the bottom. But he's not near them. The ideal sannyasi was Lord Chaitanya himself, and we can learn from his life that he was very strict in regards to women. Although he is considered to be the most liberal incarnation of Godhead, accepting the most fallen conditioned souls, he strictly followed the rules and regulations of the sannyas order of life, in connection with association with women. He strictly followed the rules and regulations of the sannyas order of the life in connection with association with women. One of his personal associates, namely Chota Haridas, was personally associated with Lord Chaitanya, along with his other confidential personal associates. But somehow or other, this Chota Haridas looked lustily on a young woman, and Lord Chaitanya was so strict that he at once rejected him from the society of his personal associates. Lord Chaitanya said, "For a sannyasi or anyone who is aspiring to get out of the clutches of material nature and trying to elevate himself to the spiritual nature and go back to Godhead, for him, looking toward material possessions and women for sense gratification, not even enjoying them, but just looking toward them with such a propensity, is so condemned that he had better commit suicide before experiencing such illicit desires." So these are the processes for purification. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this story with Chota Haridas is explained there, how they wanted to make nice rice for Lord Chaitanya, and so Chota Haridas went and begged rice from, she's known as like that. Lord Chaitanya had a small amount of intimate associates, and she's like the last. It's like 4.5 or something, and she's like the half. Madhavi Mataji. He went and begged some rice from her, and when Lord Chaitanya was later eating the prasadam, he said, "Wow, this is such nice rice. Who made this?" And the devotees said it was Chota Haridas. And somehow or other, Lord Chaitanya knows everything, but somehow or other, Lord Chaitanya could understand that he had looked, as said here, lustily on this woman who he had begged the rice from. And so he banished him from his association. He told the devotees that I don't want to see Chota Haridas, don't let him be here. And the devotees were very heartbroken, and because they also saw how distressed Chota Haridas was without Lord Chaitanya's association. So they would try to find some way that he could come around and ask Lord Chaitanya if there was some way he can be allowed back in his association. And Lord Chaitanya didn't want to hear even those requests. And then eventually, I think after a year's time, they told him that Chota Haridas had killed himself, and Lord Chaitanya's mood at that point was very good. So we can see he was very strict in this regard of keeping the ideal standard of what it means to be in the renounced order of life. Because it's an important principle that we hear many verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam about association with women, and the verses aren't saying that all women are all Maya or something like this, but it's talking about the association of women for a man. So one who's associating with a woman who's not his wife, that's not ideal in Vedic culture, because we see there's the example that he shouldn't sit alone with his mother, daughter, sister. They shouldn't sit close to them even. So specifically for those in the renounced order of life, like brahmacharis, it's explained, there's that book that's also really helpful, the Brahmachari Reader, Brahmachari and Krishna Consciousness, that a brahmachari, if he has any association with, if he has to deal with well, first of all, it's explained that brahmacharis, as they would grow up in the Gurukul, they would address all women as mata, which means mother. And Chanakya Pandit said that that's how a learned person sees all women. He sees them as his mother. And so for the brahmacharis, they wouldn't actually have any association with women really besides the wife of the guru, who would kind of play the role of their mother since they are now away from their home at the ashram of the guru. But in that book it's also mentioned, mostly through quotes of Srila Prabhupada, that brahmacharis shouldn't associate with women any more than is absolutely necessary. Like it might be necessary for some type of service to, discuss something or explain where something goes, or something like that. But it's explained in that book that it should be done in a way that is formal, as brief as possible, and without eye contact or any extra talking, and at a good distance too, because in there it also explains that and every devotee in the Krishna consciousness movement is a brahmachari. There's brahmacharis in the temple, and then there's also grihastha brahmacharis. So it's explained that one shouldn't be even close enough to the opposite sex to accidentally, bump into them or something like this, which would cause agitation to the mind. And so that those ways of living might sound really strange in modern society, but when we see, I like actually to hear about this topic because it's a really good comparison of seeing how there's no knowledge in modern society. If you just compare the Vedic culture to modern culture, this is also stated in the 4th canto when it's explaining the, I think it was the kingdom of Dhruva Maharaja's father. In one of the purports in the 4th canto, Srila Prabhupada says we can make a comparison study between a Vedic kingdom, such as the one mentioned in the 4th canto, and modern civilization. And we can see what the real standard is. So this is one area as far as the whole social roles in the world, and specifically dealings with women. We can see that there's no knowledge in modern society. It's completely chaotic. It's got the qualities that Krishna describes are the qualities of the demons. Specifically, like you'll see, they engage in unbeneficial, horrible works that are meant to destroy the world. I'll give some examples, but Prabhupada mentions here the nuclear bomb and all of these things. There's one other part with the demoniac qualities that's more related to this, about they don't know what to do and what not to do. Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. So maybe I can read some of that purport because it's addressed more, this specific topic is addressed more in that purport. Kind of on a different angle, but still it's there. As for behavior, this is in the last paragraph of that purport. As for behavior, and you'll see this theme comes up throughout these descriptions of the demoniac qualities, because there's just no standard for how to behave properly in this demoniac culture. So it's a helpful comparison. As for behavior, there are many rules and regulations guiding human behavior, such as the Manu Samhita, which is the law of the human race. Even up to today, those who are Hindu follow the Manu Samhita. Laws of inheritance and other legalities are derived from this book. Now in the Manu Samhita, it is clearly stated that a woman should not be given freedom. That does not mean that women are to be kept as slaves, but they are like children. Children are not given freedom, but that does not mean that they are kept as slaves. The demons have now neglected such injunctions, and they think that women should be given as much freedom as men. However, this has not improved the social condition of the world. Actually, a woman should be given protection at every stage of life. She should be given protection by the father in her younger days, by the husband in her youth, and by the grown-up sons in her old age. So, that's the way that Vedic society treats women. Is that it's in Vedic culture, all women are seen as mother, and they're protected in all stages of life. But in this demoniac society, where we just saw in the purport, it was explained how this condition has not improved. These modern ideas have not improved the social condition of the world. In the modern society, there's this idea that a man and a woman is the same thing. Same. It's all one. So, first of all, it doesn't make any sense, because we can see there's a difference between all sorts of people in the world, or anything in the world. There's some distinction. We know spiritually, everyone is one as a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as an eternal servant of Krishna. Everyone is equal in that sense, as individuals. But materially, there's not that thing that everything is all equal and it's all the same. That's not there. We see different people have different qualities, different mindsets, different natures. A woman can get pregnant, a man can't get pregnant. They have different ways of doing things. So, I just wanted to point that out, because from the beginning, that idea that men and women are equal and are the same, it doesn't make sense if you just think about it for a few moments. It's kind of like this, like a concocted idea. But now to get into it more, where you see how it actually really doesn't work, is the way Srila Prabhupada explains it to some interviewers who were asking about this idea. He exposed it for what it was, that this so-called equality of men and women is just made by men to increase the pool of exploitable women in the world. Because in Vedic culture, you can see the woman's protected at every stage of her life. So that means you can't, or a man can't exploit them. But then if you just say, actually, we're the same thing, now the woman's not protected. She's, from a very young age, she's sat next to some guy in the classroom, and then she's walking home alone, and they're just anywhere. And anyone can go and exploit them due to, stronger physical stature, or if taking advantage of their impressionable, possibly or generally impressionable nature. So, like that, it's a concocted idea made by demons for more exploitation, more sense gratification. And we can see this in so many ways. In the Vedic culture, they're honored and revered as mothers. They're the first guru of the child, actually. And they show the child how to actually serve and honor God. Part of that involves their chastity and submission to their husband, who is chaste and submissive to his guru, who's chaste and submissive to Krishna. And then like that, the whole family makes nice progress. But in the Vedic culture, but in the modern culture, we see how women are just shown as some sex object, and on the billboard and the movie, everywhere, and then they're trained in that way. So it's totally crazy, and because of that, nobody's happy. There's people. The other example that's given in the interview is that what is this idea, this equality idea that's propagated now as, they make it look like a nice thing, but we're seeing what it really is. What that idea boils down to is the man and the woman come together, the woman gets pregnant, and then the man goes away. Because they're equal, they're equally independent. So she continues her equally independent life, now having to beg money from the government to support the children, and the man continues his equally independent life, doing his own thing. And like that, there's no peace, there's no happiness. But the Vedic culture, the women are protected, so a man and a woman, they come together for the purpose of making Krishna-conscious children, and there's no idea of divorce. They stay together doing their dharma in the family, to raise Krishna conscious children and actually help the world rather than destroy it due to uncontrolled lusty desires. Okay, maybe we can go back to the first purport. Could we do some questions at the end of it? Is that okay? Thanks. Okay, well, we'll almost have to wrap it up. So I wanted to just read a few, because beyond just the topic of the social roles in the Vedic culture, there's an important point that was being stressed in the first purport that we were reading, just about this material attachment. So, which is more important, because we could say, okay, well, why is this all this stuff about the men and the women shouldn't associate, and this, and what's the reason for all of that? But the reason for all of that is a man is okay, woman is okay, but when they come together, it's not okay. I mean, if it's like outside of a marriage, because if the center of that relationship isn't service to Krishna, then they remain a danger to each other, because they distract each other from the goal of life. That actually, I'm not the body. They make one forget real knowledge, Atma Tattva, that I'm the soul, I'm a servant of Krishna, and they make one think I'm the body, I'm the enjoyer. Either one. The man who's seeing the woman as something for his enjoyment, or the woman seeing the man as something for her enjoyment. So they make each other think, I'm here to enjoy, I can exploit, and like this, miss the whole purpose of life. So that's explained throughout the whole Bhagavatam really nicely. And in one of my favorite lectures to listen to, it's from His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami, called Material Entanglement via Sexual Attraction. He reads from this purport, which I haven't read this book yet, but I look forward to it one day, the Chaitanya Bhagavat, and there's a version of it that has all of the purports from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And in one of the purports, and the reason why I like the lecture so much is it's like just listening to a Bhagavatam audiobook read by His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami with some comments and things, because it's just Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur just puts all of these quotes from the Bhagavatam about this material attraction, because around this part of the Chaitanya Bhagavat it mentioned the whole thing that happened with Chota Hari Das. And it's specifically explaining that how great sages are, they condemn the association of women, as we see here for men, but they glorify Lord Balaram's association with the cowherd girls in the rasa dance. So he puts all of these comments, or all these verses from the Bhagavatam, to help us understand the difference between this completely different thing of material attraction versus this actual spiritual, pure devotional service, this spiritual love in the spiritual world. Which Srila Prabhupada in the Krishna book, he says it's the difference between Krishna's pastimes and these material activities is the difference between iron and gold, I think he mentions in the Krishna book. So here's just a few of those quotes. So here's the verse. Sages condemn the association of women, yet they glorify Lord Balaram's association with the cowherd girls in the rasa dance. And here's the commentary. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 2:1-3 through 4, Sri Shukadev Goswami condemns the association of women, and not, I heard this in the lecture, he pointed out, not condemns women, but he condemns the association of women within scriptures that were generally spoken to men. He's condemning the association of women for them. And that's the same thing for the women associating freely with men. Sri Shukadev Goswami condemns the association of women and those who are attached to women in the following statement to Parikshit Maharaj. O king, the lifetime of such an envious householder is passed at night either in sleeping or in sex indulgence, and in the daytime either in making money or maintaining family members. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life. being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:31, 32 through 42, Lord Kapila Dev says to his mother Devahuti, "If therefore the living entity again associates with the path of unrighteousness, influenced by centrally minded people engaged in the pursuit of sexual enjoyment and the gratification of the palate, he again goes to hell as before. He becomes devoid of truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, gravity, spiritual intelligence, shyness, austerity, fame, forgiveness, control of the mind, control of the senses, fortune, and all such opportunities. One should not associate with a coarse fool who is bereft of the knowledge of self-realization, and who is no more than a dancing dog in the hands of a woman. The infatuation and bondage which accrue to a man from attachment to any other object is not as complete as that resulting from attachment to a woman, or to the fellowship of men who are fond of women." At the sight of his own daughter, Lord Brahma was bewildered by her charms, and shamelessly ran up to her in the form of a stag, when she took the form of a hind. Amongst all kinds of living entities begotten by Brahma, namely men, demigods, and animals, none but the sage Narayana is immune to the attraction of Maya in the form of woman. Just try to understand the mighty strength of my Maya in the shape of woman, who by the mere movement of her eyebrows can keep even the greatest conquerors of the world under her grip. One who aspires to reach the culmination of yoga and has realized his self by rendering service unto me should never associate with an attractive woman, for such a woman is declared in the scripture to be the gateway to hell for the advancing devotee. The woman created by the Lord is the representation of Maya, and one who associates with such Maya by accepting services must certainly know that this is the way of death, just like a blind well covered with grass. A living entity who, as a result of attachment to a woman in his previous life, has been endowed with the form of a woman, foolishly looks upon Maya in the form of a man, her husband, as the bestower of wealth, progeny, house, and other material assets. A woman therefore should consider her husband, her house, and her children to be the arrangement of the external energy of the Lord for her death, just as the sweet singing of the hunter is death for the deer. Narada Muni speaks the following words to Maharaj Prachinabarhi in the Srimad Bhagavatam 4:25-6. Those who are interested only in a so-called beautiful life, namely remaining as a householder entangled by sons and a wife, and searching after wealth, think that such things are life's ultimate goal. Such people simply wander in different types of bodies throughout this material existence, without finding out the ultimate goal of life. Narada Muni describes the story of Paranjana and Paranjani to Maharaj Prachinabarhi in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 25, verse 10, to chapter 29, verse 51. Yet he particularly points out the ill effects of associating with women and the benefits of pleasing Lord Hare in verse 28 of the 28th chapter. Again in the Srimad Bhagavatam 4:29-54-55, Narada Muni further explains to Maharaj Prachinabarhi, "My dear king, woman who is very attractive in the beginning, but in the end very disturbing, is exactly like the flower which is attractive in the beginning and detestable at the end. With woman the living entity is entangled with lusty desires, and he enjoys sex, just as one enjoys the aroma of a flower. He thus enjoys a life of sense gratification from his tongue to his genitals, and in this way the living entity considers himself very happy in family life. United with his wife, he always remains absorbed in such thoughts. He feels great pleasure in hearing the talks of his wife and children, which are like the sweet humming of bumblebees that collect honey from flower to flower. He forgets that before him is time, which is taking away his lifespan with the passing of day and night. He does not see the gradual diminishing of his life, nor does he care about the superintendent of death, who is trying to kill him from behind. Just try to understand this. You are in a precarious position and are threatened from all sides. My dear king, just try to understand the allegorical position of the deer. Be fully conscious of yourself and give up the pleasure of hearing about promotion to heavenly planets by fruit of activity. Give up household life, which is full of sex, as well as stories about such things, and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the mercy of the liberated souls. In this way, please give up your attraction for material existence. So I ran the time out of time, but there's another nice verse in there where Jamil says that now I will give up this material attachment. As if it's that easy, just now, and it's gone. But we understand that it's not that it's just make the decision and then these material desires are gone, but with the example of a Jamil, what did he do after that? He engaged in serious sadhana, and in that way he was able to become unattracted to this material world and all the facets of it, and more attracted to the lotus feet of Krishna. So I ran out of time, but Magadari Prabhu had a question. Should we just talk about it later? After that? Should we do the one question or should I end it? It's up to you guys. I don't want to waste everyone's time. Okay, yeah.
Is suicide pleasing to Lord Chaitanya for us right now?
Thank you, that's a nice question. Because that was asked actually to Srila Prabhupada that, okay, it says that's the process for purification, so should we do like that? And he said, no, because I need everybody in this, I'm paraphrasing, that I need everybody in this movement. Lord Chaitanya, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could do that. But if we did that, then there wouldn't be anybody to perform the Sankirtan movement, because we're all coming from these, lower than Shudra backgrounds. So, yeah, no, it's not pleasing. Okay, thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.